like, no, 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 never heard of him. So, never heard of Andrew Jackson Davis, stuff like that, which, is not a lot of people have,
No, that's
normal people have.
that's a spiritual, that's a tradition that says that mediumship is more than talking to dead people, and that's why they haven't heard of these people.
Right.
You mean the Emma Hardage Britons, everybody you said, it's mediumship is an aspect of in everything. It's not,
Right.
That's why they haven't heard of them.
Right, right. They're not interested in the history of mediumship or where it stems from, or the whole of it being a whole, and the reading part is just an aspect. Mediumship itself is, it's a healing modality.
Exactly.
Different compartments.
Yeah, you're right. It is a healing modality.
Yeah. Wow. But they're just interested in,
Well,
getting
and the mediumship is in every single tradition too. They might not call it mediumship,
right.
but the idea of connecting to something more is not just the purview of the spiritualists.
Right. But never been really interested in spiritualism, to be honest with you. I mean, I kind of grew up in it as far as my mediumship is concerned, but it just wasn't, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't know, I don't know. It just didn't feel, I don't resonate with it. Does that make sense?
What aspect?
The whole thing. It just feels like it feels like there's hierarchy, and I can't stand hierarchy or whatever.
Okay, so let's split that apart, because there's a strain, because with everything, there ends up being different pockets, right? So spiritualism itself, especially when you read Emma Hardage Britton, it's a movement. It's part of the New Thought movement. So you had people like the Unitarians, the Unities, the Spiritualists, in this New Thought movement, trying to push forward the idea that the dogmatic traditions that say that you need some kind of person, intermediary, pastor, whatever, to help you get to the rest of creation is necessary, right? And then all this New Thought stuff says that you, as a regular person, any old person, no matter where you are, has a direct link, or can learn that direct link to their own purpose, their own soul, their own talents or whatever. Right. And then spiritualism falls into that, but they recognize the aspect of mediumship as the quote proof that there is that extra beyond, right? I think some of what you're talking about is what's turning into like this dogmatic type of spiritualism, where they're turning it more and more into a quote religion than the movement.
I like when you talked about the movement more than about the practice of mediumship. So I can get into the movement of spiritualism. That is fine. But what happens is I have found over the years, over the decades now, that people will wear that as a badge of honor, not understanding there's more to spiritualism than just mediumship, and say, well, I went to spiritualist church, right, and I'm a spiritualist, and we did this, and then I went over to AFC, and I am to the so there seems to be, like I said, there's like a hierarchy, and who's to say who's the best of the best? I mean, there's some of the best there, but there's some of the best of the best here in the United States. Or there might be some in Europe, some other places in Europe, rather than, England, so who's to say?
Or the people holding the home circles, right, in home that aren't advertising, but have their peoples come over and sit however they sit. I know a lady near me that has people come to her farm like twice a month, and they, in the summertime like this, they all sit outside and they sit together, and whatever happens in that group happens in that group. And it's, by some, like what you're saying, by some outward standards, whatever like hierarchy of standards people come up with, they'd be like, well, she's a wacky do, but I think it's beautiful because they're doing what moves them into that place twice a month, and they're dedicated towards it.
Well, yeah, and that's just the point, is that I think in every different um area of mediumship, whether you want to call it spiritualism or whatever, everybody will put a different value. Everybody values their standards more. They just do. And who's to say that those standards should be valued more than somebody else's? Does that make sense?
It does. So I have another example if you want it. So I know John White passed last year. I know you know that. And I know that he kind of took me on at a time I needed somebody to take me on.
Right.
He gave me that, like, that layer of whatever, because he'd been in the spiritualist community forever, specifically at Lilydale.
Right.
And there was another person who had been more, let's use the word evidentially trained at different places.
Right.
They're like, why are you hanging out with him? He's not evidential. He's not whatever. And I'm like, I'm learning so much, I don't know. And, and he was the first to say, you need to get the best you can at what you're the best at, or to keep, and he never stopped learning, and he never stopped trying to get more specific or whatever. But the viewpoint of somebody else telling me that the person that I'm connected with in terms of, some kind of mentor relationship was not good enough, because if he were to go on platform at XYZ place, he would get laughed at. I'm like, you know what? That's not, I think there's more to the expression and the learning and what he was, encouraging me to bring out than that style of mediumship. Am I making sense?
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. They're putting their values as a standard. And that's what I'm talking about, the hierarchy. I mean, everybody does that. Everybody, if you look across the board as far as religion is concerned, whether it's Catholicism, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Mormons, whether everybody puts their values as a standard, and when somebody is not reaching those values, they have gone below the standard, and why aren't you meeting up with us? So that's how I feel like it's almost parallel to that what I had just said, that
So then the practice comes going back to what spiritualism really was or is, in the vein of new thought, to expand the perspectives to include all perspectives.
Yeah.
And to allow everybody their voice and their talent, and helping each other get to the best they can in their voice and their talent. I mean, I think you're right, but then it's like, maybe that's what we need to exemplify, is that everybody's standard is the best that they can be at their own specific talent. End of story.
Yeah, well, I don't know, Miss Jenn.
But how do you forward that? I mean, do you forward that by?
I think if you allow people to have their own experience, and you allow them to have their own free thought without condemning them or making fun of them or saying, no, like, there's certain beliefs that I have, okay, but they're my beliefs. Are they fact? No, they're not fact, but they're my beliefs. So if somebody comes to me and say, you have a stuck spirit in the back of your woods, my belief is, no, I don't have a stuck spirit. Now, am I going to go back at them and say, you know what, you're full of shit, I don't have stuck spirits in the back? I might say that to you, or I might say that to my husband, but I'm certainly not going to say it to that person, because that's their belief. And why should I feel that my values are the standard? Why are my values the standard, and why can't they believe that I have a stuck spirit in the back? Does that make sense? So it's becoming a point where there's competition about what our beliefs are more valued than other people's. And I see it all the time where people say, no, that can't be. No, that can't be. No, it maybe for you it can't be, but maybe for them it is.
So how do we keep moving forward into a wider perspective for everybody?
You just voice your opinion and how it affects you, and not make somebody else feel less than, or less than,
Yeah.
because I've seen too many conversations. Well, no, blah 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 blah. Instead of putting it on them, put it on you, saying, I feel that my experience was this with that. This is my shared experience with that. There was somebody that wrote something on one of the pages the other day, about her husband had woken up and saw lights coming out of her head. Now, to me, I'm like, no, no. It's probably something wrong with his retina or something, or some kind of physical problem. I don't know. Maybe he did see sparks. Maybe they really were a metaphysical thing, but I don't know. But I wrote there, I said, sounds like a retina problem, or it sounds like, and I pasted an article on there, but I certainly didn't go say, what, I think, your thought is screwy, and I don't believe, that's not true, and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, so I'm just sharing what my knowledge would be about that, or what I looked up about it, but I don't like this whole thing where people making people feel less than.
There's a theory. It's actually put forward by Ken Wilber. It's in some of his work, that we look at things through our eyes. That's like a first perspective, right? And then we recognize somebody else is seeing through their eyes. It's kind of like that. Well, I need to stand in their shoes in order to see. Except, but when we really start to come into focus that everybody and everything is connected in some kind of everything, or everybody can have a different perspective about the same thing, is
Right.
when we recognize not only what's happening in their shoes, but turning that around and seeing how they are perceiving what they think we are saying. And that's like, and it brings it around. So I think it allows us that are recognizing that three-way thing to find broader words, or find other ways to explain, so that maybe we can fully communicate what our perspective really, really is, instead of, because I find, like what you said, the stuff that gets put online.
Yeah.
Sometimes people mean one thing, but somebody takes it totally different than what they even mean it. And it's like, are we recognizing how, it's like that. And I don't know that communication and the sharing and the recognizing all those different aspects are going to improve until we do something like that.
Yeah, it's just sharing food for thought. It's just sharing food for thought, saying, sharing our experience, like you were talking about, so you give people a different aspect, or you give them a different dimension of what, maybe a subject matter can be. And maybe that, there's been plenty of times, in my past where I thought that one thing was one way, whereas I went on with my mediumship, understanding that, okay, maybe I should look at it this way.
So it's
Or
giving ourselves permission to change our own minds and change our own perspectives.
Yeah, but the whole bottom line is respecting other people's, even as if it's wacky as shit, as wacky can be, it's just like, okay, there for the grace of God go I, and yeah, I might put myself above that experience probably, and I shouldn't be doing that, but, and maybe down the road I'll have that experience, go, oh, they were right. I don't know, but yeah, it's just kind of being open. That's it.
And we didn't think we had
I
any.
don't think we have all the answers. I think, I mean, none of us have all the answers, but we need to be open. We need to be teachable is what I'm saying. We need to be teachable.
We do. And so there's an old metaphor that all of us are like a bike wheel. You know, a bike wheel is round and then there's this center thing and then all the spokes are coming out.
Right.
And you're all one bike wheel, but all of us are different points on different spokes. So all the perspectives of that same bike wheel is going to be different, even though it's part of the same. And even depends sometimes on where you're at on the journey, because it could turn this way and all of a sudden what you thought is totally turned on its head, right? And then you have the opportunity to change your own mind and actually see it from the way that's another part of the wheel had seen it before.
Yeah. That's all I gotta say about that stuff.
All right, Kim.
I don't know if I like this subject matter, but
No, it's a good subject though, because this topic bleeds into way more than just how we treat our fellow people that are practicing.
yeah.
It affects all parts of our life, which is really, 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 really seen right now. And the ability to take a breath and communicate, and to take a breath and realize that it doesn't matter who they are actually part of creation, and as connected as you are, goes a long way in solving a lot of issues.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Kim.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.